Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
Today is the 21st of June 2014. A very good evening to you and welcome to News at 9. You're joining us live from the Newsfirst Centre in Colombo, and these are your headlines tonight. Fire erupts at a clothing store in Panadura. Cause of the fire yet to be ascertained. The Sri Lankan government remains committed to protect the lives of all Sri Lankan citizens, places of worship and property, an assurance by the Deputy Permanent Representative to the UN in Geneva. A challenge for Minister Maithripala Sirisena.
මම තරම් අධ්‍යාපනයට මුදල් වෙන් කරපු වෙන කවුරු හෝ කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් මට පෙන්නුවොත් මම ඕනෑම දඬුවමකට මම යටත් වෙනවා.
Leak at the new Laksapan reservoir restored. A Newsfirst special report. Let's now join the main news desk for details of these stories and much more.
Thank you, Katharina Chang, for bringing us the headlines. Well, you're watching the weekend edition of News at 9. Let's start off with your top story tonight. The cause behind the fire which erupted at an outlet of a clothing store in the Panadura area has not yet been ascertained, according to the police. The fire which erupted this morning caused extensive damage to the outlet.
The fire erupted at around 3 a.m. The fire and rescue units from Dehiwala, Colombo as well as Sri Javardhanapura Kotte were dispatched to douse the fire. According to our correspondent in the area, the fire was doused at around 6 a.m. Extensive damage was caused to the clothing store due to the fire.
We received a call at around 3:25 a.m. We came here within 10 to 15 minutes. The top floor was completely ablaze. We were able to control the fire within 10 minutes.
A number of political representatives arrived at the scene of the incident this morning.
විශාල අපරාධයක් අපි මේක එලා දකින්නවා ජනාධිපතිතුමාට අපි කරුණ අවබෝධ කරලා දෙනවාද
This is a grave crime. We condemn it. We will explain matters to the President and attempt to stop this from here. We are really hurt by this. These incidents seem to indicate that they want another war. We hope that this will stop immediately and an environment will be created where all races will be able to live in peace.
ජාතින් සමාදානෙන් ජීවත් වෙන්නට පරිසරය සකස් කරලා දෙයි කියලා.
මේකේ රටේ ආර්ථිකය ගැව්වේ. ඒ ජනතාවගේ දේපල නැති වුණාම
They have attacked the country's economy. When property damage is caused to the general public, the government should provide compensation. Who provides this money? It doesn't come from anyone's personal pocket. It comes from the general public. If this continues, we will be heading for a grave issue. It is the government's responsibility to ensure that such incidents do not occur.
මේ වගේ දේවල් වෙන්නේ නැතුව බලාගන්න එක රජයේ යුතුයකමක්.
The deputy government analyst who arrived at the location this afternoon inspected the scene of the incident.
විශේෂයෙන්ම අපේ අවධානය කාරණා දෙකක් කෙරෙහි යොමු වී තිබෙනවා. එක් කාරණාවක් වන්නේ මෙහි විද්‍යුත් පරිපතේ දෝෂයකින් එහෙමත් නැත්නම්
We have focused our attention on two things. We are investigating whether a fault in electrical system caused this fire. We are also investigating to look into whether this was an act of arson. The police scene of crime officers have been called in to inspect the location. It is difficult for us to ascertain whether this was an act of arson or a fault in electrical system until the investigation is concluded.
මේ විමර්ශනය අවසන් වන තුරු මෙය කඩාකප්පල්කාරී ක්‍රියාවක්ද එසේත් නැත්නම් විදුලි පරිපතයේ දෝෂයකින් හෝ වෙනත් දෝෂයකින් සිදුවාක්ද යන්න නිගමනය කිරීමට හැකියාවක් නැහැ.
තවත් ඉතාමත් ඛේදජනක සිද්ධියක් සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා පාන්දුර ප්‍රදේශයේ විශේෂයෙන්ම මේදී මේ පොලිසියේ හැසිරීම සම්බන්ධව.
Yet another unfortunate incident had taken place in Panadura. The manner in which the police reacted to this incident is disappointing. Several years ago, we were able to witness when the Sirasa media was set ablaze. It was said that the fire was set by Sirasa itself. Even in this case, the actions of the police are attempting to indicate yet another similar incident. During an incident such as this, the police needs to act with more responsibility. We saw what happened to the police officers who actually tried to implement the law. They were cast aside. On the other hand, the police has begun to operate based on political agendas. The final result of these actions will be that the police who are supposed to uphold the law do not carry out their responsibilities.
මෙන්න මේවයි අවසාන ඵලය හැටියට අපිට පේන්නේ මේ රටේ නීතිය අරියාකාරව ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න ඉන්න පොලිසිය ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් වගකීමක් නැහැ කියලා.
Meanwhile, many shops in the Putlam town were closed as a mark of protest against the incidents that took place in Beruala and Alugama. President Mahinda Rajapaksa has decided to appoint a high-level panel of officials to investigate the incidents that transpired in Alugama, Beruala and several other areas. Presidential spokesperson Mohan Samranayake has said that a decision as to who will be appointed to this committee has not been taken as yet. He said that an announcement will be made in this regard in the coming days. And here are some of the views expressed by politicians about incidents that transpired in the recent past.
එදා දෙවටගා පල්ලියේ පූජකවරයා සිකුරාදා ජුම්මා කියවනකොට එතුමාගේ කටින් වැරද්දක් කියවුණා.
When the Muslim priest at the Davdagah Mosque was reading Jummah on Friday, he accidentally made a wrong statement. I heard this and sent an SMS to another Muslim priest who was in the front row and asked him to make sure that he rectifies his statement. They filed a complaint and tried to arrest me. Then they brought a false charge against me stating that I had said that we will have to take up arms. They used this to detain me for 3 months, using detention orders. Why is the government that took such steps not doing anything against? This is a serious issue. Members of the international community and ambassadors are asking me why they are not taking any steps. They ask me, why does the government that took such steps against you not do anything against?
They want to create an unrest within our country once again. This is a carefully planned conspiracy. The Theros are the people who protect this country. However, when you look at the television these days, we do not know what category they fall into because we see them assaulting people and behaving in an unruly manner. This is a sad situation.
මේ කෝටියෙන් කීයක් මුන්ට තියනවාද කියලා හිතා ගන්න බැරි තරමට ඉතාමත් අවාසනාවන්ත තත්වයකට අපි වැටලා තියෙනවා. පාලකයන්ට ඕන ඇත්ත ප්‍රශ්න යට ගන්න.
The leaders want to sweep the real issue under the carpet. Issues in education, issues pertaining to government salaries, issues pertaining to university lecturers are all being swept under the carpet. They want to rouse the Muslim and Tamil communities against the Sinhalese and then rouse the Sinhalese against the Muslims. If this continues, it will be our children who end up fighting. We do not want a society where one person kills another. The cannot remain the king without a clash. So, the wants a clash. It is the who are planning this, and it is them who are behind these incidents. That is why the police is not enforcing the law. That is why the STF is not enforcing the law.
Racism is now oozing out of Beruala. This miraculous government sustains itself by creating issues. When one issue crops up, they ensure that another issue crops up which overpowers the first, or else they send someone in to create a mess and then the goes there to save everything. These are all planned activities. This is not a simple moment for us.
ඉතාම සරල මොහොතක්ම නෙමෙයි.
The government is saying that they are investigating this issue. They are searching for the person who threw the first stone. We can say for certain that they will never be able to find out who threw the first stone. The issue is not only when this incident occurred. These sentiments were built up gradually bit by bit. They maintain themselves by creating a false enemy. If society identifies the real enemy, then they will not be able to continue with their system.
Everyone should respect all religions and races. There are animals posing as human beings. Humans should not fall to the level of animals. We have never spread any ideology which causes harm to any human being. Then why should we create differences?
United National Party parliamentarian Sajid Premadasa convened a media briefing today.
The government has to intervene to put a stop to the activities being carried out by extremist groups to destroy the country. They should be brought to book regardless of their status or religious affinity. This government, which brought an end to a 30-year conflict, must take immediate measures to destroy extremist terrorism within the country and bring these traitors before the law. If this does not happen, this country will become a volcano.
Speaking during the general debate of the UN Human Rights Council's 26th regular session, Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Manisha Gunasekara, assured member nations of the UNHRC that the Sri Lankan government remains committed to protect the lives of all Sri Lankan citizens, places of worship and property.
The Sri Lankan delegation informed the Human Rights Council that prompt action has been taken by the government to bring back normalcy to Adutgama and Beruwala. Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Manisha Gunasekara made this observation exercising a right of reply in response to comments made by Germany, Norway and Canada during the general debate. She noted that the government does not condone any acts of violence against any religious or ethnic community, adding that in all instances where credible information relating to incidents has been available, the government has taken appropriate action. Manisha Gunasekara also reminded the council that all Sri Lankan people enjoy freedom of religion, which is a constitutionally guaranteed right.
Welcome back to the news. According to the Ceylon Electricity Board, a sum of 120 million rupees that was lost annually as a result of a leakage at the tunnel of the Lakshapana power plant can be saved starting this month. Renovation work on this tunnel got underway early this year after a lapse of 40 years. The renovation work was aired on a Newsfirst specials report on the 22nd of February, 2 days after the tunnel was emptied. Newsfirst Aditya Jawardana visited the Lakshapana power station yet again and filed this report.
The Newsfirst crew, accompanied by engineers at the Lakshapana complex, entered the Lakshapana tunnel via an external tunnel that has an entrance from the surface. The crew embarked on this visit concurrent to the final inspection tour undertaken at the tunnel. When the crew made its way to the depths below, the debris left behind after renovation was being raised to the surface.
This is the point where the engineering technology of 40 years ago meets the present-day technological advances. We are to join the inspection tour of the renovation work that was initiated over 5 months ago.
The crew entered the tunnel and moved south along the sub-tunnel for 2 kilometers. They did not have any means of communication with the outside world while inside the dark tunnel and moved forward with a concealed fear in their hearts. The crew was accompanied by the chief engineer of the Lakshapana complex, a number of other engineers, as well as the OIC of the Norton Bridge Police.
We have now reached the entrance of the new Lakshapana tunnel after travelling for almost 2 kilometers along the sub-tunnel. Water from the canyon reservoir is released from this point. After today, no one will be able to enter this area. We doubt that such an opportunity would ever arise in the future because this gate will be open today and this tunnel will be filled yet again.
The crew moved forward and had to travel over 5 kilometers to reach the other end of this tunnel. This tunnel was built with granite rock 300 feet below the surface. Though this journey was tiring, the crew continued to move forward. After traveling almost 18,000 feet, the inspection team stopped to inspect a newly laid layer of concrete. The water leakage at the point was reported by Newsfirst on the 22nd of February.
මේ උමන් මාර්ගයේ මීටර් 54ක කොටසක් අපි කොන්ක්‍රීට් ඇතිරුමක් යොදලා තියෙනවා.
We have laid concrete to a layer of 54 meters along this tunnel, which was almost a foot wide. The 54-meter area is the area we identified as where the leak was. 230 liters of water leaked from this point per second. This layer of concrete has been laid so that the entire area of the leak will be covered. A sum of 130 million rupees was spent for this effort.
මිලියන 130ක වගේ මුදලක් වියදම් කරලා තියෙනවා.
මේ වගේ ටනල් එකක් උපමකක් මේ තරම් ක්‍රියාකාරී පෙෂයකින් තියෙන එකක් මම හිතන්නේ.
There is no other tunnel in Sri Lanka that endures such a pressure. This is very important. We rectified this in a short span of time and we will be very fortunate if this does not fail. Some years ago in Ecuador, a portion like this broke away as a result of a landslide. They had to build another tunnel. All the institutions worked cordially to ensure that such a situation does not occur and to ensure that this is preserved for the future generations.
Funding for this massive project was provided by the Ceylon Electricity Board and the Dam Protection and Water Resources Management Project of the World Bank. The leak was first reported from this tunnel in 1976. A complete study on this issue commenced in 2002. As a result of this leak, 300 liters of water escaped the tunnel per second and a total of about 1/8 of the capacity of the Mau-Sakale reservoir has already been lost. After the inspection of the tunnel, the inspection team also took the time to look into the status of the sub-tunnel. It was 2 in the afternoon when the crew reached the surface, almost 4 hours after moving into the depths below. The engineers were quick to head on to the Canyon Reservoir for another important task. Details tomorrow.
8 students of the Eastern University have been remanded until the 23rd of this month in connection to an assault carried out on a restaurant in the Trincomalee town recently.
The assault was recorded on the CCTV cameras of the restaurant. The police stated that the suspects were produced before the Trincomalee magistrate today and were subsequently remanded. Police added that 5 individuals who sustained injuries in the assault are receiving treatment at the Trincomalee General Hospital.
The trade union action launched by the medical officers of health in the Nureli district is still in effect. The trade union action is being staged, citing that Minister Arumugam Thondaman threatened the MOH of Kottagala.
The trade union action, which is being carried out by medical officers of health in the Nureli district, entered its 5th day today. The trade union action was launched following an incident where Minister Arumugam Thondaman allegedly threatened the MOH of Kottagala, Janath Abe Gunaratna, at a meeting. The strike action is in effect in 13 MOH officers.
We held a discussion with representatives of all parties in the Nureli district today. At this discussion, we arrived at a decision that apart from the Kottagala MOH, all MOH officers of the Nureli district will report to work on Monday. We are facing an issue pertaining to the security of the Kottagala MOH. We have not yet received an assurance about the security of our officer. Minister Thondaman is responsible for all these issues.
ගැටලු සම්බන්ධයෙන් සම්පූර්ණ වගකීම තොණ්ඩමන් අමාත්‍යවරයා සතුයි.
At a function held in Polonnaru yesterday, Minister of Health Maithripala Sirisena posed a challenge.
2014 අවුරුද්දේ පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ට ඇමතිවරුන්ට ලංකාවේ සෑම දිස්ත්‍රික්කයකම
In 2014, every minister and parliamentarian was given millions of rupees for the development of every district in the country. Around 700 million rupees was given for the Polonnaru electorate. I challenge anyone from any electorate in the country. I am willing to face any punishment if someone can prove that they have spent more than I have on the education sector. I have always put my weight behind improving the education sector. 70% of the funds allocated to me this year has been spent on education.
බරක් දාලා තිබෙන්නේ. මේ අවුරුද්දේ ලැබිච්ච මුදල් වලිනුත් 70%ක් මම මුදල් වෙන් කළේ අධ්‍යාපනය සඳහා.
The minister made this statement at a function to declare open the new administrative building of the Aralagangwila Dilayaya Mahavidyalaya, which comes under the purview of the Polonnaru Dimbulagala Educational Zone.
For a third consecutive year, Sri Lanka has been placed in the Tier 2 watch list of the Trafficking in Persons report compiled by the US State Department. Now, the report notes that the government of Sri Lanka does not fully comply with the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking. However, it is making significant efforts to do so.
The Trafficking in Persons Report 2014 notes that despite taking significant efforts, the Sri Lankan government has failed to demonstrate evidence of increasing overall efforts to address human trafficking, adding that the government made very limited law enforcement efforts to address human trafficking. The report notes that Sri Lanka is primarily a source and to a lesser extent a destination country for men, women and children subjected to forced labour and sex trafficking. It notes that some Sri Lankan men, women and children who migrate to Middle Eastern countries are subsequently subjected to forced labour, while some Sri Lankan women are subjected to forced prostitution in countries such as Jordan, Singapore and Maldives. The State Department report highlights that provisions for victim protection were inadequate in Sri Lanka. The Trafficking in Persons report also charges that Sri Lankan authorities rarely enforced labour recruitment regulations and increasingly denied young Sri Lankan women the legal permission to migrate for work, increasing the likelihood that women would use unregulated recruiters who are more likely to exploit migrant workers. The report also states that many recruitment agencies were politically connected and that some sub-agents worked with government officials to procure forged or modified documents or real documents with false data to facilitate travel abroad. The annual report notes that allegations have been levelled that police and other officials accept bribes to permit brothels to operate, adding that boys in the coastal areas are at times exploited for child sex tourism. The US State Department has also issued a number of recommendations which they believe would help the Sri Lankan administration combat human trafficking and other related offences. Some of the recommendations are as follows. Improve efforts to investigate and prosecute subjected trafficking offences, convict and punish offenders. Investigate and prosecute government officials suspected of complicity in human trafficking. Promote safe and legal migration rather than imposing discriminatory policies. Expand the Bureau of Foreign Employment's mandate to include the regulation of sub-agents.
According to a survey carried out by the Department of Social Services, it has come to light that the daily income of a beggar plying his trade in urban areas exceed 6,000 rupees. What are your views on this? You can share comments on our Facebook page. In news from the world of boxing, the second leg of the semi-final round of Super Fighter, Sri Lanka's first ever sports reality program, will get underway on the 24th of this month at the Stein Studio Complex in Ratmalana. Meanwhile, a ceremony was organized to felicitate Super Fighter semi-finalist Mohammad Farshad and of the Jones College, Nugegoda.
Super Fighter.
The felicitation program was held under the patronage of the principal of St. John's College, Nugegoda, Major D.A.D. Banaguru. Mohammad Farshad advanced to the semi-finals under the 52 kg weight category after an impressive performance during his quarter-final bout in Galle.
Out of nearly 10,000 participants, one of our students has advanced to the final rounds of Super Fighter. As a principal, I am very happy about the opportunity that our student has received through such a program.
Super Fighter.
Moving on, some cricket news now. The second day of the second test between England and Sri Lanka is currently underway in Headingley, Leeds. Early on day one, Sri Lanka were dismissed for a first innings score of 257 runs. England recommenced their first test on an overnight score of 36 for no loss. Damiga Prasad struck an early blow for the victors, dismissing skipper Alistair Cook for 17 runs.
Very well struck.
Gary then paired up with Sam Robson to put on a 142-run stand for the second wicket, and their partnership ended when balance was dismissed by Angelo Matthews for a well-made 74 runs. A short while ago, England were on 267 runs for the loss of 2 wickets.
Now he gets his first, comes back for the second.
We now join Katharina Chang with the weather.
A very good evening and welcome to Weather First, where we bring you the forecast for the next 24 hours. Starting off with the northern part of the island, which is the Japan area, we're expecting sunny weather conditions with the temperatures ranging between 28 to 32 degrees Celsius. Now moving down to the eastern part of the island, which is the Batticaloa as well as the Hambantota area. Starting off with the Batticaloa area, we can expect partly sunny as well as cloudy weather conditions with the temperatures ranging between 26 to 36 degrees Celsius. Moving down to the Hambantota area, same weather conditions are expected with the temperatures ranging between 26 to 32 degrees Celsius. However, in the central part of the island, which is the Kandy area, showery weather conditions are expected to develop within the next 24 hours, particularly in the evening hours. And of course, moving down to the southern as well as the western part of the island, in Colombo area, we can expect shower weather conditions to develop within the 24 hours. With your temperatures ranging between 26 to 30 degrees Celsius. And of course, if we're going to focus on the Galle area, shower weather conditions are expected to develop within the next 24 hours, especially in the early part of the day. Let's now take a look at the weather forecast in the major towns and cities in the next 24 hours.
Well, that's a wrap of Primetime News at 9. Remember, you can keep abreast with all these stories by simply logging on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. I'm Stephanie Lazarus. Thanks a lot for joining us. Take care and good night.
0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.